Um, just to build a positive momentum and get a focal point to outline some projects. Um, I thought I'd take a second to just talk about arts production and design. Um, so, kind of the basis of arts production is collaboration, right? Putting together a team of people with diverse skill sets, diverse and complementary skill sets to create new content, to take on like active puzzles, story puzzles of like what do you make that's true to the characters in the story, but also is entertaining. It captures the audience. It has entertainment value. There's a hook. Um, so arts production is super broad. Right now I'm talking mostly about like comic books, but there's like parallel lines and correlations between like film production, animation production, comic books, video games, right? Where you take an idea and a concept and a dream, and then you use your imagination to capture the dream in that space, but then you use your logic and your reasoning, your analytical intelligence to like break that dream down into manageable steps and take them on and build this thing, to do the right research in the right places, to build a good space and rhythm, so you have the most highly productive creative space, where you're doing things so you are in your inspiration, you're in your creativity, where you set yourself up like Zuko from the Airbender, right? When he's watching for the lightning, and the lightning comes in, but he's ready for it, and he's able to move it through his body and channel it. Um, Being a channel for creative endeavors is a lot like that, I would say, where you set yourself up, you get the right position, you're drinking juice, you're exercising, you're sleeping right, you got a good girl, you got the romance in there, or boy, to keep things fresh and to have a place where you can just like set all your work down so that you have the rhythm, the schedule, the curriculum to get the skills and do the homework. So you like a high level D&D character when you roll in, right? You've got all of those skill sets that you've invested in and built up, so your character sheet looks like dope as hell. And when level 20 story problems come at you, you can break it down like instantly, with all of your skills and knowledge, right? And it sounds cool, and it is cool, but it's not about being level 20. It's about starting the storytelling game. Where at first it's like, and again, we're kind of drifting back into comics, but there'll be other parts where I'll talk about like generic or general production. Um, you have something like a game or an animation or something, and you're like developing the content to a point where you can pitch it to investors. You gotta master the elevator speech, which, what's the hook, what's the entertainment value, does it draw you in, what's the emotion behind the story, right? So you hook them really fast. It's got to be like a 1 minute pitch that breaks down all the biggest, broadest points in the story, but also makes it intriguing. You sharpen those points like a blade, right? So each like line, paragraph in that 1 minute, is finely crafted and tuned to capture interest and also to show the value of the product. If you're like, it's like these other movies in these ways that were very successful, and yet we're trying these fresh elements, and maybe there's examples of those fresh elements from the past. So it's like these two awesome Hollywood movies together, but then art house French films on top of that. So not only does it have that high entertainment value, but there's intrigue, there's experimentation, there's something that turns it on its head, you know? And there's like, like $1 million scripts that are like, if you have a really, really, really good idea and you find a way to articulate it, Quentin Tarantino. I gotta stop it with this Quentin Tarantino quote because I drop it all the time. But really, I think it's like the best like creative quote for my a large part of my life study has been like, how do you make dreams a reality, right? Something like Mario, Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid. They were once a dream. This vision. This I like the word dream because it's like this thing. The dream game. Like Hideo Kojima wanted to play Metal Gear Solid. He wanted to see Metal Gear Solid. He saw this Metal Gear Solid shaped space, this hole in the universe, right? Um, Legend of Zelda or something, and you take that concept, that inspiration. There's a quote with J.K. Rowling talking about how she came up with Harry Potter, man. How she came up with Harry Potter, and she was in the subway in the UK, and at the time she's working on like hard ass shit. She's like in this place where refugee people from this war torn place like came in and told their stories of their whole people getting fucked up, massacred, genocided, tortured really bad. And she like literally talked to these people. But then she's got her kids, right? And she's like running it, and she's this, aspiring writer with these dreams of mythology. The mythological and the richness of our stories like struck her in college. But now she's like struggling to get by, working like two jobs, um, and trying to come up with an idea for a story. But when she's on the subway, when she first thought of it, she just saw this kid. She saw this kid and his face and his messy black hair and the thunderbolt scar, like she channeled it. She captured that moment, that inspiration. She captured it. And she wanted to know the story in that moment with that striking, like, who is this magic kid? He looks all like he's scuffed up, he comes from poverty, but he's got the will and the drive and the sense of wonder. It's such a captivating, intriguing image, and stories should be like that. There should be a couple scenes and like selling points, like these moments. How do you get there? And that's like the right brain or whatever, like the intuitive kind of like feeling out the energies, watching the right mix of shows, and then meditating and letting all of it go to the subconscious mind, and sitting there with the paper or the notepad open on your computer, and those striking moments where you want to know the story. Who are these characters? What is this conflict? How did this moment happen? Those lightning bolt moments, and then you structure it around them, to create like a skeleton, a framework, this momentum, the plot. Sorry, I do this with my hands when I'm talking about storytelling because there's so many pieces of it. I kind of feel like I can see it, like Tony Stark, right? Like this and that and the other. And there's areas of study, there's areas of inspiration, where films, behind the scenes on films, right? Interviews with professionals, different interviews, because all these different writers and artists have way different like keys to inspiration, right? And it's about finding yours, so you try like 100 different methods and you find which one lines up with your personality, with your inspiration. Sometimes maybe you come up with crazy ideas at 4 a.m. like me, right? Or sometimes the inspiration strikes and it's like, oh my God, yeah. I'm someone that kind of like, I suffer from depression at times, and I have to find something to keep my mind captivated, like an interesting puzzle to solve that's like a bone for my mind to chew. And if I don't have that, it devours itself. There's times when I'm in an absolute wreck, even the last year, where it's like, if I don't have that, I'll do anything I can to get some alcohol. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works really well. I was invested in this idea of me as the drunken master, who's like, his kung fu gets even better because he's able to roll with the looseness of the alcohol and the intoxication, right? And there's sometimes when I can do that. I felt like I was doing that a little bit in the presentation that I did. But there's definitely a line, and if you're like depressed, it's super easy to like fall down that slope, man. You're like drinking every day, like drinking like a fifth of vodka every day. If I'm drinking like all day, I'll drink like a lot more than a fifth of vodka. Like a fifth and a half of a handle. Like, oh my God. It got pretty bad at times, but there were other times when I was able to take this slingshot momentum, and calm things down in my mind and in my life, and to get the joyous, celebratory energy. No, I got a story from the place that I lived before this. Sorry, I make videos that are so long. I'm not gonna cut this one. I love the free form things, right? Or like have a very loose idea, like arts production was what I'm gonna talk about, and then it's all just free form. You know, it's all ad lib. Because I've invested so much time, like every single day. You know, every single day since I was like 16, 17, I invest time into thinking of how you create stories, how you create new ideas, bringing dreams to life, and finding dreams, which is something that like I feel like it's a valuable asset, but sometimes it kind of makes me look like an asshat. Where I try and imagine things that are like captivating for me. So they've got to be like as good as my favorite things, and my favorite things are all awesome. You know, that was my homeland. You know, my lifeblood was these stories and these projects. You know, these video games and animations. You know, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy VII, but then 8, Chrono Cross, and in a point when I just needed Chrono Cross in my life, and I didn't even know it, and it just came out of left field, and all the music is so enchanting, the art is so enchanting, but the way the story is so unpredictable and bizarre. At times it falls into tropes. It's this series of tropes, right? But the composition of those tropes, incredibly unique, incredibly gifted, enchanting. Um, you know, the composition of all the elements and the characters, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's one of those games where it's like my concept of what stories could be expanded. I'm sure you have all of those moments. What were the key pivotal games, series, characters, moments in stories, moments in your life that tied to moments in stories that gave you something that you needed, whether courage or confidence? An example of something you have to be grateful for. So many things you have to be grateful for. It's like hard ass stories, you know, the Hunger Games. Every time I was like, God damn, I appreciate my food. I appreciate my home. I don't gotta kill nobody. It's awesome here. Um, and that's something. Or Metal Gear Solid. It's like, oh goddamn. And even just like, I'm so happy to have Metal Gear Solid. I went into that in the other presentation. We don't gotta go back there now. I was talking about something. I get off on tangents. What was it? Oh my god. It's the boat to $1,000,000. But what was it? We're talking about arts production and design. I feel like I'm getting farther away from it in my mind right now. What was it? I can't go back and watch the video. We might have to just move on and come back to it. Like, Legend of Zelda is so cool. I'm playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom in my free time. I've been playing good games. I don't have the new games, but I'm like playing good games from my library. I so much want the new games. Missed Final Fantasy 16, missed Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, like Resident Evil 4 remake, dope as hell. Helldivers, Remnant 2. All these new games, because you got to be on the hype train of the game. You know, you got to drop the $70. You got to get on the hype train and you ride it. But I'm a classic man. Outside of my time, I am the PlayStation 2 menu theme where it goes in, right? And dial up internet in my childhood, you know? But having unique life experience, I feel like I can put together ideas in a unique way. A very unique life experience, like homeschooled. But my family life like this crazy tumulus adventure. You know, my dad was a paleontologist. He found like the first fully articulated juvenile T-Rex skeleton. His team found it. It was like $7 million or plus like thing. It was a big adventure. We're moving everywhere. But, you know, there's like always crime and shadows and stuff happening. Like tumulus family life, you know. I lost my 2 little sisters when I was 10 years old in a house fire. And we don't have to talk about that right now because it's really sad and really traumatic. Like the most thing, but then, of course, there's silver linings, right? Where I saw an outpouring of so much kindness, you know, of people from the church, of friends and relatives from all the different parts of our lives showing up. and like people providing money and support. Like I was there. We don't have to talk about this, but I was there when it happened and witnessed it all. And you know, the survivor's guilt, it's terrible. Even for a 10-year-old, I had no idea what to do. I still can't shake it, man. I feel like Cloud when he's talking to Aerith in the field of flowers and Advent Children. He's like, I let you die. There's a part of me that still feels that to this day. 31-year-old man. I've gotten a lot better and always able to find the joy in life. And when you lose someone that's a part of you forever, you still have the energy, you have the memory, you see that person in the joy and the bliss and the perfection of each day, and the sun rays coming down through the clouds, and the way the wind rolls across a plain and the light catches the grass and the wave pattern, you know, or in the moonlight, you know, wind and moonlight, and like those, you know, wheats from Sekiro and Tekken 5, the moonlight stage. Yeah, sorry. I dream of making a platform where I can make hyper specific references at any time. Like of any like thing that was impactful to me, and just a tiny amount of people would know, and maybe some people would get interested to find the thing, but you wouldn't have to ever to create like in jokes and community. I'm gonna pop a caffeinated drink. I've been waiting for a long time. Oh, AJ, Trish, Rainer, everyone else that escapes my name, that escapes my mind, their names, the whole crew, fantastic vibe. In the other video presentation, I talk a bit about creating a vibe, creating a space that's like comfortable, that's stress relieving, and from that baseline of peace and joy, which some streamers do the opposite. It's drama, drama, drama. I don't dig it. I don't dig it at all. But the positive vibes and the inspiration, like the baseline of peace and joy and good humor, you know, and getting by in the world, you know, something that makes you, you know, see the world turning and you feel modern, up to date. Super cool. No, streaming saved me, man. Not me streaming, but me going to streamers and being able to take part in that space where I didn't have like room to breathe in my life much, and I was feeling stuck. But the optimism and the sense of air and energy. I've got to take care of this cat so much of the day. Little Sanji. Little Sanji's so great. Considering you're way deep in the One Piece, and I make specific videos where I say things to some people. Then I also talk about generic topics, and I might send it to like investors or something, unless it was like really personal. Because I like that. I like that spontaneity, but then considering an audience at the same time, where there's some things that are very specific that you say, like someone's in words, their sense of humor, their sense of style, that familiarity and friendship, which is something that, you know, I freeze up if I don't have familiarity and friendship. Like the presentations were pretty good just because I felt like I'm amongst friends. Right? I look so pink in this goddamn light. Here, I gotta undo the pink. It's still bad. I need a red and yellow. Only colors. Got a multicolor lamp. No, Sanji's great. He's got a little story for his name. When I first met him, you know, he's got cerebellar hypoplasia, a severe case of cerebellar hypoplasia. It comes in light, mild, and severe. And he's definitely on the severe scale. They told me about him a couple times with my little sister and her fiance. And they have cats that are married too. And their cats did a load of kittens. Their cats are polydactyl. They have many toes. The mom looks like she got a little mitten, and the dad's got big old paddles with like 7 toes. So many of their kittens had multi-toes, but the genes, Metal Gear Solid 1, the genes, sometimes jump, sometimes they're recessive, sometimes they're from their, you know, ancestors or something. So They come in all different colors, shapes, and sizes and numbers of toes, but the amount of them that are polydactyl is definitely way above average. And people pay money. My sister was breeding them at the time. But this guy came out different. Cerebellar hypoplasia is a condition contracted in utero if the mother comes with a case of the panleukopenia virus, right? I looked all this shit up when I adopted him. It's just like a standard type cold, but sometimes, you know, the membrane in the uterus is like broken down and it leads to like neurodevelopment not being there that should be. Some of the wires are loose, so to speak, and his cerebellum, the center of movement and balance, is just non-existent. So he can roll. He rolls like little Sonic the Hedgehog, little tails. Sometimes I call him tails. Ah! Oh, sweet boy. I'm gonna eat you. Love him so much. He's another thing that saved me. When I look back, so many things is like Naruto saved me at a time. You know, One Piece definitely saved me multiple times. Recently, Bleach saved me. I'm like, why do I need so much saving? I'm like, Daphne meets Orihime. I don't even have orange hair, man. But every day it's a struggle to find the inspiration, and the keys and the locks change every single day. What worked before doesn't work now. You know, you're part of an evolving puzzle to find inspiration, motivation, beat anxiety, beat depression. Find the motivation and the excitement, that natural sense of energy and excitement and movement, where you can even sleep just a couple hours. But if you got an idea that's keeping you awake, that's like, oh, let's go. You can't wait for the next day. It's like the dilation of time. You just go into the flow state. Awesome. I still don't know what we were talking about earlier. This is me at my most ADHD, being up for like a day and a half. I mean, it wasn't really a day and a half, and I had time to rest, but it feels like it, you know? Man, I can't wait to play Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game ever. I mentioned the thing about my sisters having it when I was a kid and I was 10 years old. Final Fantasy VII was already my favorite game, right? When I was a kid, it felt like they spent $100 million exactly as I would have wanted $100 million to be spent. $100 million gift for $10. In fact, our friend had it and brought it over. He bought it for $10. We didn't have to pay a thing. And it was like, what a blessing from God, man. School sucked, family life's difficult, but Final Fantasy VII, bro. Come on. It made me believe in life again. Just when I was 7, you know, before trauma hit. It was like Metal Gear Solid meets The Legend of Zelda. It's hard and gangster and gritty. Concrete jungle, especially in the beginning. But then there's fairy tale moments. Cloud and Tifa on the well. And goofy moments where you meet Yuffie, and just like it seems so unhinged, you know. There's prostitutes and gangsters like everywhere. Some ecchi content, you know, some good ecchi moments. Final Fantasy VII, they almost pushed 10 times, but you know, you're a kid. My mind was blown. But the story about the world of spirit and your life being connected to something bigger, and that cycle of energy, you know. And Gaia theory is like, you know, super real. Hironobu Sakaguchi and like you know, Richard Branson and millions of other people put stock into Gaia theory. There's science in quantum physics that's like the movement of energy and the transference of energy. Like there's a life force, you know, in us. And there's a current of energy that we all take part in, and even just physically, you know, the particles that make you never die, and they become, you know, part of this evolving, changing ecosystem. You know, it's beautiful, but that helped me feel like they were with me still, you know, and it was the greatest gift ever. Like really the gift that kept on giving, you know. Like not only was I, you know, if some bullies were like, oh, do some fucked up gangster shit with me, I'm like, nah, I'm a different kind of gangster, man. I'm like Cloud. I run my own shit. I help people when I can. I'd be righteous, fighting dragons, fighting robots, and long and dream to find a team of super awesome friends with different goals but shared goals as well, with diverse skill sets that were complementary, to create a communication in the moments, as you're taking part in this adventure, all of your different perspectives, and the communication like makes the adventure. Friends literally make the adventure. So I didn't do no hood shit. I'm like, nah, man. Like, and Legend of Zelda as well. I'm like Link strong. But Final Fantasy VII made me feel like you could also be selfish. Like Link is super selfless and super driven, and I try to be that. But I feel like the best altruism is selfish altruism. Like they end up saving the planet, but they're invested in their own stories and what gives them motivation and drive, right? So you have to follow something that gives you your drive and get yourself to a place of power so that you can be altruistic, right? So you make your highest potential impact and change, so you can be truly altruistic. It's selfish altruism. The bit in Bleach where Ichigo's like, I will save someone who is right in front of me. I'm not going to see that happen. I don't make a vow to spend my entire life saving every single person. He's going to follow his own quest to reach his highest level. You're just on the grind all the time. And maximum level respect and support for all the critical healers and doctors on the front lines, helping people all the time. But I've seen a lot of those people, who spend every year on the Red Cross, on the, helping these people. And it's like they just think the suffering never ends. The suffering never ends ever because there's a continual cycle of suffering. I'm not making this up. There's like society creates all these different levels and experiences, and the poverty and the war-stricken places, like people will have kids and survive as much as they possibly can as possible, push to the edge, and shit gets super hard, and it's just like, what is humanly bearable, like a Murphy's Law of like, what can people take to survive? Because if they can survive, they will. There's places where it's thriving, places of inspiration. That's where innovation happens. That's where we get our renaissance, right? Those peak inspired moments that then you can send to billions of people around the world. You can instantly transmute it like gold, like alchemy. You have an idea for a story, an idea for an app, an idea for a product, podcast, interview show with creative professionals. You have ideas for something that could create a positive ripple effect, one-to-one. You lift someone up, you create something meaningful for them, or put a smile on their face, share a laugh. You're doing something good. But if you can put a dream in their heart, like One Piece. I was recently watching the live action again. This is so good. Inuyaki, oh my god. Like when Oda-san is like, Luffy. So good. But the bit about just follow your dreams, man. Like, and the way he says it, the way Luffy says it too. He's an icon. He's an emblem. To see that like realized in the live action as well. Luffy's ultimate emblem, ultimate icon. Luffy. Oda-chan, Oda-san. I'm like Santa Claus from a different planet. In case you were wondering. Sorry. I got some cool ass fingerless gloves in the store. I'm going for a thrifty art bum. I'm definitely Yusuke in Persona 5, the team we make. I'm probably gonna be Yusuke. I have elements of Ryuji, elements of An, a little bit of Joker maybe. Yes, I can wear a woolen coat. But Yusuke, the weird isolated art guy, for show. Here, Sanji, just sit down for a minute. The Passion of the Christ! Oh my god. They're doing anime superhero Sentai moves out there. This Power Ranger as, crucifixion of the Christ. It's so much. Every single. I didn't do all the use case stuff because I figured out later on in the game that you can go to a chi hero or whatever, and it's not chi hero, but chi, and she can progress your relationship, and you do that shit like every day for 5,000 yen. I had so much yen because I love to just like have a big money bar in my RPGs, Final Fantasy and whatnot. Like you just stack it, you know. If you're up playing Mario, Castlevania, you know what it means, you know, the points. And just imagining that the characters are going to be very comfortably taken care of, having little first class dreams in my head of like if they ever needed a plane. I mean, they have the Highland, go for a plane. You know, it's going to be first class. The inns and whatnot, I mean, it's the only inn the towns have, but you'll get the best room. And chilling in the mansion in Costa del Sol. Let's go, Clouds and bitches, Clouds and homies, man. Oh, that's sexy as fuck. That's sexy as fuck. When I figured out you could do that, that was also the. We can talk about Final Fantasy VII. I shall talk about Final Fantasy VII a little bit more in a minute. I look cool with the gloves, right? I look proficient. I look dexterous. It's like dexterity +2. Yeah, art bum. You know? Look like, who's this guy? Contemplating something. I'm smoking a cigarette, maybe. Yeah, no. I'm working on quitting, getting the zins. We'll smoke a cigarette together for a minute. And you don't have to light up. Live vicariously through me. Let my story also be a cautionary story. There's inspiration, and then there's like expiration, I guess. Where some things I've made mistakes in addition to accomplishments. You can learn from both. Yourself and other people can also learn from both. I'm trying to outline that in a progressive way, right? Progressive mindset. I can do a whole other thing on Joe Dispenza. Saved my life. Malala saved my life. I was gonna do a presentation where I just talked about Malala, the Taliban, and how you do like peaceful conflict resolution, but use like anime metaphors so that it's fun and hopeful, you know? That's something that I like about AI. The one thing I noticed, it can do optimism and hopefulness like really good. Like there's this deep set sense of cynicism. If you go through academia, there's so much of the corruption, what you can't do, the burden and the weight of society keeping you down, that when people write, like there's this, like almost everyone that's I've seen do projections for the future, no one's got a utopian future where we all work together to make the best world possible. We make the technology, education, and communication as accessible and good as possible. We invest in that to make it like diamonds, you know? It's like a multi-billion-dollar education system in everyone's phone, and we all vote on it and vote for it at the same time, you know? People working to end world slavery and to end world conflict one-to-one, like in a unified group with the best education and the most concise outlining what the problems are, where the conflict comes from, what can we do. So we open it up to all of the world's best minds to help sift and sort and create solutions, right? Create solutions to these problems. So we end world conflict, we end world slavery. If you took 1/4 of the military defense budget, the global military defense budget, the entire planet's population could be fed consistently with organic food. I heard. And I think it's legit. And Elon Musk and Joe Rogan were out there. I'm going on a tangent again. I'm not going to talk about Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. But the national debt there is bigger than the global military defense budget. National debt's a tricky thing, and I don't mean to get too Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is the thing, actually, that made me be an activist. I was like, Kojima, you were with me through the hard times. You helped me find inner strength. You helped me not to give up. You know, there was so much in there. There was so much fight and drive, and I gained so much from it. I was like, Kojima, I'll try and protect the world for you. because you made me feel like it was possible, you know, that we change the world through our actions, through our beliefs, you know, through our plans and our focus, and our vision, and the action that we take, and the courage that we have, and the solidarity that we find with our friends, because everyone is also weak and they can't take this thing on alone. So we keep each other going and work with what information we have, you know, which is always this limited scale. Everyone's got different information and ideas about what's going on, and you have to try and find truth through that complex maze, that labyrinthine jungle. Um, but the conflict, resolution, and the way they bring it into real world things, but then heavy real world things, but then they elevate it to the realm of anime superheroes that carry very like strong anime archetypes of like fighting power and will, and it's like Nishan philosophy mixed with that anime archetype. Oh, any complex war story. I'm just explaining what Metal Gear is, but like every part of it is so good. It elevates me so much. Um, the end of Metal Gear 4 specifically, no spoilers. Um, was the one where I was like, yo, I believe that it can be done. I'm trying. Also, have the courage to try and do something to help change the world, to help the world move in a good direction, to try and elevate the quality of life for everyone, to use your unique perspective, imagination, and intelligence to contribute something. Um, and even like I find the most thing that you can contribute. This is something I do all the time when I'm playing Overwatch. Is I'm a cheerleader. I'm the biggest fucking cheerleader in Overwatch, and people that I meet on the game are like, "Oh my god, it's a different thing completely playing with you on the team. It's you make it fun again. We celebrate every single victory, and when the challenge is high, we don't give up, and we use that to test our skill." You know, instead of just being, oh, I guess it's 7 minutes, just getting slaughtered, which everyone does, and everyone's so like isolated and angry, and I bring people together. I bring people together and I galvanize them. We should play Overwatch sometime. It's super fun. I'll be shy. I'll be a little bit shy at first, but then you just get into the element and flow state, and it's super easy. I play a diamond level Mercy, almost only Mercy. I can play Soldier. I can play Tracer. If I have a computer, I can play Anna or some other like aim specific people. I'm a little bit more of, but Mercy's just my gal. She's so hot and so crispy, and the movement and the way the game plays is so unique. When you're playing as Mercy, it's unlike any other game because it's like keeping the other people alive, and where is your healing, and then keeping out of enemy sight, right? And when you put on the extra attack power on people, you are the guardian angel on their back, right? Almost. Almost always I say this, and because we were talking about Final Fantasy earlier, I guess I'll say this now. But when you're playing as Mercy, it feels like playing Final Fantasy because there's all these different heroes around you, and you are just the supportive role, giving healing spells and attack boosts, and they are doing the work, you know? And they are like superheroes that are super proficient. They do every attack and spell perfectly. You don't even have to worry about that. But you're like the navigator, mastermind, trying to support them all. You know, you kind of play a guardian angel spirit that's also watching the stories. And I love that they tapped into that a little bit in Final Fantasy VIII, where you play as the guardian angel spirits, the fairies that are like enchanting and giving strength to these people. I have a game idea to use this concept. It's pretty fun. It's not Gunhead. It's not the other game ideas we've outlined, but really, I'm about making frameworks, if you couldn't tell by now. I'm about making frameworks with the elevator pitch and Quentin Tarantino's quote that we were talking about earlier. Quentin Tarantino's quote is, he went up to this director of a movie that he greatly admired, and this guy's stuff was crisp. It was so good. He got a chance to talk to him. He said, everyone's trying to make good movies, but you do make good movies consistently. How do you do that? Right? And the guy says, it's as simple as this. If you have a dream for something, a vision for something, and you know that it's good, you can hire people that have every single set of skills and talents that you do not, to bring that vision to life if you can articulate it to them. If you can share that vision which is kind of we looped around. We looped around. That's what this is all about when you're talking about arts production, right? And building frameworks for things and galvanizing people and getting them excited and using that perk, that buff that makes them 20% better at everything because they're hyped up or up to 2 times better at everything if they're really fired up like Buggy and the pirates out there is elevating. Um, and I'm such a hype man. I'm a hype man. I'm a producer. I'm a concept designer, um, dreamer, historian, very unique, niche, esoteric subjects. Yeah, very unique, specific. We never smoked this cigarette once. Um, right, okay. They can make the thing. If you can hold the vision, you have the vision, it strikes you, you have confidence, the emotion of the vision moves you. um then I mean, and there's even writers, right? Like if you're a director, you do not have to be a writer. You can have a whole team of writers that workshop this idea and this vision until it's super fucking crispy and nice, right? um I'm gonna use the restroom over. So pretty much, will you be the Roy Mustang to my Edward Elric? Will you be the L to my Light Yagami? No, I'm not gonna. That's Sasuke to my Naruto. But then obviously you have other best friends, you have other stories, and there's a parallel line when you meet someone and the story becomes shared, and you are different elements. You have different areas of expertise, beliefs on things. You have knowledge that you've gained. You have preference and style. You have so it creates a unique elemental chemical reaction when two people get together and they start shooting their thoughts around like Ellen Light Yagami. You gotta read Death Note. I'm not gonna. You gotta read Death Note on the stream. I'll be there every day. I'll hype that shit the fuck up at the right levels. If you're hyping too hard, Lane, I always listen to you, Trish, Rander, everyone, whole team. I'm sorry. I should look at all the mods on the video because they all do such a good job and you have such a good banter and exchange of ideas and energy where they're helping you to do your best, just like Final Fantasy. Trish, Rander, everyone has their unique strengths and weaknesses, but that shared dream and vision of the code of the space and making that space as good as possible and supporting yourself to do your best work, to elevate and hold that space for everyone to contribute to that space with their own input, the solidity, the momentum, right? That sense of security, where it doesn't just feel like this lawless old west place, but there's guardians and knights that help to like move things in the right direction. It's like an anime squad. It's like you got an anime squad in there and you're running it. That's really what it's like. That's what it's like for me, and it's dope just to be a part of it, just to come in and see that banter. And Metal Gear Solid 2, when y'all were doing the escape and the Colonel goes crazy and you brought that with like a fourth dimensional level into reality, was so good. It was such a unique and priceless moment that was entirely unique to yourself and the in language, right? The shorthands that you've developed and turning those shorthands on their head and the subversion of expectation. It just I'm literally shaking right now. That is content. It's emotional reaction. It's really good writing and timing. And to contribute to Kojima to be like writing a parallel line to the script. I mean, that's so good. That is all the references, but distorted. There was so much work and care and fun that went into that. It was dope as hell. And that's just one example of the moment. You know, I could like do a general thing where I was like, there's this, that, and that, and that, and pick all the biggest things that I've seen and the elements. But sometimes it's good to just pick one specific thing. And like, there are all kinds of things like that fill in the other space. You know, that team dynamic, that camaraderie, you know, that elevation, like playing Overwatch with people, the teammates by your side help you to do your best and they help you to do better. I mean, I have like a fucking record at turning unwinnable games around when that became my favorite thing. And I would get fired up when the odds are wildly against you. Um, and most people, almost everyone gives up. But I practice honestly and uniquely. Like I don't do a speech. Who is this person? What's our communication? And there's a unique cheer that goes for it. You know, if you're just reading a book or something, no one gives a fuck. But if you're talking to these people and empathizing, you know, we all have to suffer through this match, but maybe we can break it. You know, maybe instead of there being all of these generous time frame and these opportunities, there's only one. But if we have an anime level of focus and awareness, when that opening comes, we can hit it with everything we got, even if they're better than us. If we fight harder, we can beat them. And that's like my favorite thing. One of my favorite things, and over is like the other team is more technically gifted. Their points and their scores are higher, but if you have tenacity and grit, you can match that like technical skill. And it feels like an anime moment. There's so many moments in Overwatch that feel like anime moments where it's like, oh shit, we're fucked. But then two of your team members come in with the ultimates at the same time and just radically shift the momentum of the battle. Like when you're one hit away from death and you pull it out, you know? No, we'll talk about Overwatch some other time. You see, every single thing that I talk about, I could go on about Overwatch for 2 hours easy. I could probably talk about Overwatch and the connected things and tangents and trains of thought. Um, the production, the design, the company, what Blizzard's doing, the interviews with people, behind the scenes with the unique player experiences and the moments in the game that create that. Everyone has a different memory of Overwatch. What was the player you're choosing and embodying? What was your favorite map? What were those moments? And it becomes emblazoned in a different shape in the mind of every Overwatch player. Like with all of the 34 whatever characters, 5v5. What was 6v6? Now 5v5. There's almost an infinite like number of different potential games with all of the maps off of it. You know, the multiplication there gets crazy. Sorry, I have a habit. I'm gonna say we could talk about Overwatch later, and I'll just start talking about Overwatch. But I'm trying to summarize. When I was I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school my whole life, and just all my education was independent. So because I didn't have school and a standard curriculum, you have to learn from everything. And where I didn't have any book smarts, I didn't have the curriculum book smarts, right? But I loved reading. I loved learning. If it's, I got the ADHD, something fierce, right? Acute ADHD. You can probably tell. Um, Acute ADHD, but I'm working on it, using every tool that I have. Gym quick. There's things that you can do to bolster your sense of focus, to bolster your sense of awareness. There's ways that you can, even if you have a preset disposition, you can augment that disposition by adding all kinds of different buffs to your focus. You don't get hard on yourself. Say, oh, I've got a 3 in focus. With an affirmation like that, you always will. But you're like, yes, my focus may be 3, but what if I clean up my space really good? I do a meditation. I have memory tools and deliberate thought and focus to create a mental map of the information so that it's accessible, so it's refined, like a bonsai. You're trimming off all of the excess information, and Jim Quick is the genius of this. Jim Quick and Joe Dispenza. I'll tell you a thing. This is part of the platform because I have a creative platform of arts production that I want to do personally, right? And to build a team around to take these ideas and people that can expand on them and add their own unique imagination and intelligence onto what is already a solid framework, an interesting idea. That, because as a creator, that's the most exciting thing. If you're like, I have a hook for a story and it's exciting, I have a cool character, and you have a partner that's maybe these confrontations in this way, maybe there's a mystery, a different line of plot that runs through it that ties these elements together, and that like, it's coming together, like moment, that you can have by yourself when you're working and you fist bump the air. But when you have it with a friend, it's even exceptionally more. I mean, I play single player games like Final Fantasy and Elden Ring, and I do celebrate myself. I'm very good at celebrating victories, even though the sense of self-worth is something that I just always have struggled with my whole life, where I feel like I have to work like 5 times harder than the people next to me because I don't feel like I deserve love because my dad was someone that never loved himself. And he'd try and do something amazing so he'd overcompensate so people would love him. It was just my natural disposition. Right? And he was Ganondorf in the land of my Hyrule. I still haven't fixed it all yet, but of course there's been development, there's been progress. Self-worth is something that's hard. I mean, even I know the value of the work that I'm doing, and I know the guy right next to me, that's doing the work, and that's bringing in the cash and has the confidence to launch the projects or something, to do the elevator pitches. For me, it's like I want to work again and again and again, to back it up. I got the t-shirt design thing or the graphic design thing, and they multiply off each other. That's something that we built to the point where it's like you get assigned a small team to learn the graphic design tools and techniques that I've developed, and I have developed them. The tutorials in Photoshop give you the framework. There's a TED Talk that you really got. I'm sorry, it's a dick move to suggest TED Talks to people, but there was a fun TED Talk. And look, let me give you the full story at some other time. But this man with advanced Parkinson's was going to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, right? Like the country's best clinic, and he needed an attendant. So I'm like, right here, buddy. And he completely lose motor function for motor function many times a day, and had these pills, but the pills would make him cloudy, and sometimes he'd forget about them, he'd lose his motor function completely, and it was a full-time job. The Mayo Clinic was so fucking cool, and we had a nice hotel room that had a pool on the fucking top floor that had like a dome, so you could float on your back and see the good stars. It was ritzy, it was fun. There's another part to it where I met this British guy who's there from England, and he's giving me this cognac in the hot tub on top of the thing. He tells me his wild ass story about why he's at the Mayo Clinic. There's his wife's depression, and there's all these pieces to it. Sorry. And he had me watch his TED Talk while he was there. Something that inspired him. And it's this kid that's like autistic, right? An autistic kid that is a genius savant mathematician, right? Like he literally developed new maths on his wall by writing in all the different equations and then taking them further than the baseline of the equations, right? There's like these things were discovered through experimentation, so he just jumped right on to the experimentation, which is something that I love and respect so much. When I'm learning things, I'm always like, when do you get to creating new things, or like coming up with a new way of looking at it? Jean-Michel Basquiat, who gets you all kind of hip-hop creds. Whenever you say Jean-Michel Basquiat, you get a little bit more cooler, a little bit more thug, a little bit more money when you're in the streets. Jay-Z. No, Basquiat's amazing, but sad and tragic. And he said, art is me, translating the world through my unique lens of perspective, right? And he gives that unique moment in time. It's like capturing that energy and moving it. We talked about Zuko and lightning earlier. So I love getting to that creative point in anything where you're experimenting. It feels like a video game. You're exploring this space. What are the monsters? Where's the items? It feels like Dragon Quest when you start storytelling. You're doing graphic design or learning a new, how to do fashion. If you're learning to skateboard, if you're learning to do music, if you're doing stage design, if you're doing like setting up shows and festivals, like putting events together and team building. You could be someone that encourages people with positive seminars where you talk about like, losing the anxiety, picking up the inspiration, actually doing the things that we all know would increase our quality of life, like going to the gym, meditating, doing a little bit of journaling, doing a little bit of reading every day. Those things you can do them in an hour or two every morning. Right? But it's so hard. And there's a whole science to it. There's a science of deliberate creation and rewiring your brain and how to, achieve your highest potential. And it felt like a Final Fantasy rulebook, right? Like Dark Souls or Final Fantasy or something. The challenges are just like there and they're tough, but you need this strategy. It's not just about like, grinding, unless it is, but the grind is a part of it to get the skills and abilities that you need to be able to handle the challenges, right? It's all about the strategy. Like you're speed running Final Fantasy, there's all these tough challenges, but if you know the exact right key for each lock, then you can move like lightning, right? Shout out CarQ. Shout out my man Caleb Hart 42. Bra, 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 bra. Those are a couple of the pro gamer speedrunners that I shout out Ski Esti as well. CarQ is Overwatch tank. He's a master destroyer. He's just Asian dude. He's so cool. He's cool in a unique way. Or sometimes I'm looking at him and I feel uncool watching CarQ. But then he's also just like cute and funny and nerdy and stuff, and has his own, list of insecurities, I'm sure, and things that he's working on. So I'm like, yeah, no, don't put anyone on a pedestal like that. But he looks so cool. He's playing the Overwatch, and he's so goddamn good. And the Elden Ring is what I watch. And Caleb Hart, of course, is a Final Fantasy VII like world speedrunner. He's not #1 world champion, but he's a world contender every single time, and he's like my guy. He's got the streams to do it. He's got an entertainment platform in the space around that ninja perfection. Caleb Hart, 42. And this is something where it's like we want to... okay. Really weird shout out real quick. PS2 classic, wonderful game called Radiata Stories. It got 8s and sometimes 9s. Mostly it was 7 to 8.5 on the scoreboards. Was a completely unique game experience. It tells this awesome story, but the gameplay mechanic involves being able to friend like 130 plus. I think it's like 300 because there's 130 human and non-human characters, and they all have unique keys to the lock, that what motivates them and what is a conflict that you could help with. So you're a bit of a rapscallion, One of the commands in the game is to be able to kick people. And if you kick people twice, you can duel them. You can duel every single character, and they all have a unique character model and unique skill set. But it made me think, everyone out there, we could find a way to get them on the team. We figure out what's the conflict, what's some way we can help them, what's our unique skill sets offering something powerful and bold enough to give them enough value and joy that they join the team, And you can set this up for anyone. A lot of people are like, okay, so CarQ, Caleb Hart, right? That's pretty, And those guys are as cool as anyone in the entire world. I'm not saying they're low class, but as far as like a community that is, you're able to get them a message, right? Where someone like Keanu Reeves or Hideo Kojima or someone is like up there, but there's a way to. Kojima's schedule is obviously packed, but if you could find a way to some kind of energy exchange, something that you could do, like maybe there's an app sticker pack that you can add into iPhone with Death Stranding iconography, so you can use Death Stranding emoticons directly in your messages to your friends. Something fun and complimentary. And then like maybe you're like, okay, Obviously his schedule's packed. You know, not only making Death Stranding, he's making I hope his hair doesn't gray. He's making OD. He's making Fizzint, the new stealth action game. Holy shit. Death Stranding 2 and doing all these things all the time, but still watches a movie or a show every single day. Master of scheduling and using time effectively. I'm a master of like lightning and moving the lightning. You know, even if I spend a week in a drunken stupor or something, I'll be like, the bottles will clamor off, and I feel like Sherlock Holmes again. And I'm like, that is a fun idea. That is a cool idea. People are going to be able to contribute to this idea. The idea is a framework to establish collaboration and to inspire and galvanize the creativity of others to flesh out this beast, this skeleton, this interesting, non-existent thing. Non-existent yet. I feel I'm sorry, I keep going and keep going. I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, you should probably wrap this up, and another part, we can keep going. It's a fun tangent and train of thought. If you got time, man. If you don't have time, I'll do a Skype call. I mean, I'll tell you in a message. I can do a Skype call to watch this video with you, and then anything that I say interesting or you'd like clarity, I could we do a commentary, and we could stop and just bounce ideas off of each other. So it's not just like me blasting the communication, which is I love a presentation. I love a TED talk. I love an interview. I love behind the scenes. I always feel like I wish I had more. You know, in the 20 minutes of behind the scenes behind Cyberpunk or Drive with Ryan Gosling or anything, I wish there was 6 hours. I wish there was 10 hours. I wish you could have an interview with every single unique talent that takes part in it. The colorists, you know, the designers, the movement, like everything. And that's something where it's like developing creative resources and educational content, where if you were doing an interview show where you could get some of the best writers, artists, something that would be so cool is getting mangaka. When it comes to mangaka, if you're like interviews any of them, Kubo, Kishimoto, Oda, the biggest guys are like, sometimes they'll have a Twitter account and sometimes they have a page in the end of manga that it's like Kishimoto's amazing like life experiences, which are always so good. I wish he wrote a book of them. Come on. But interviews with them are almost non-existent. There was an interview with what's the name? It's the Katsura Hoshino, the mangaka behind D. Gray Man. D. Gray Man was my favorite. That's like, you know, I'm just like naturally inclined to it. When you find something, you're like, yeah, it's like a 7 or an 8 or something. I think it's like 8.5. But then I think it's a 10 because it hits my peculiarities and captures my interest, the sense of style. The way Katsura Hoshino would come up with her ideas in a 5-hour long bath while listening to old Final Fantasy soundtracks. And I'm like, I vibe with that. So, and when you see D. Gray Man, you're like, it's totally. And she just like this weird fucking recluse, but genius talent with the pen and the brush. And manga was like something that kind of saved her and got her into the world. Like they do imitations of Gundam characters and Ghibli characters with 5 assistants, and they have so much fun. And there's an interview with her for the New Year's thing, and it was the best subtitled video I've ever seen on YouTube. Hands down, easy. The girl that was like a student doing Japanese, like meticulously, perfectly subtitled every single thing that she said. And she's been my hero since I was a kid, you know, since I was 15. And I was, oh my god, Alan Walker is Sora meets Dante. His face looks exactly like Sora from Kingdom Hearts. His hair like Dante. His disposition fierce. His visage mysterious and dark, pained, cursed. But he's got such heart and fighting spirit that pierces that darkness that is the world around him. You know, he's got such a pure heart, which Dante does as well as Sora, you know? I don't know if she even did those two things, but it's what reminds me of. Like in the first Devil. Oh no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers at all. But he's such a good guy of pure heart. It's so good. It's cheesy but immaculate. And then Devil May Cry 3 is just bananas, best prequel ever. And you're like, you say that about Metal Gear 3? Yeah, homie. It's mine. It's mine. I'm not saying it's analytically, technically the best prequel ever. It's Metal Gear 3. But Devil May Cry 3 captures a world, and I would still put it up there competitively. As so much that they add to it. Devil May Cry 2 was terrible. They tried all these things and it just didn't work. But the Devil May Cry 2 team and director exclusively made Devil May Cry 3. It was the biggest adjustment before Final Fantasy 14, right? They took all of that feedback. They took all of that feedback to the face. To the face, man. People were shitting on them and hitting every single piece of the design, and they learned from all of it. They took that laundry list of complaints and turned it into strength and innovation after strength and innovation. And like, okay, that's a fun story, but the game is bananas. No spoilers, no. You're probably like, your spoiler-free content is quite spoilery compared to the spoiler. I don't know, the spoiler alert, the law of the spoiler. I mean, I just come from a place of like film reviewers and stuff. And even if you're giving a vanilla review of a thing, usually what are the themes? What are some of the emotions? What are some of the strengths? And to be able to articulate those things without like explaining the story, it takes a little doing. It takes a little doing. Okay, here, we'll just do like a 1 second break. Just in case like I lost a video. I'd be like, like I'm not gonna do it again. I'm the kind of guy who's like, okay, I still have all the I've got enough energy, I've got all the articulation, I've got the things there. I would fall into a depression and maybe watch Venture Bros or Castlevania for the rest of the night, cry myself to sleep, homie. Okay. I'll be right back. We'll be right back. Intermission. Alright. Intermission Sanji. Angel. Oh no! I was saying the thing. We'll come back to it. We'll come right back to it. The name of Sanji and his upbringing, and it's so special. It's so funny. Okay. Peace and love, my cowboys and my space cowboys.